Into it here for our Swiss Round 5, the Utrecht Regional Championships. There's that Terrapagos and Cresselia versus the Incineroar on Calyrex ends on VÍCTOR's end. Tried and tested, but can he deal with this very unique team?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this Cresselia is trained, because of course Acid Rush is super effective move, boosted by the Life Orb. On the other hand, you could either Terrasilize your Cresselia, but then you lose the option to Terrasilize your Terrapagos, which is kind of your preferred option here. And I always like how VÍCTOR has a very clear understanding of the board state and is very quick to consider his options and clicking his moves.
Yeah, he definitely is. You can see the thought process going into there, because you have all the tools that you're very used to, but it's what's on the other side that counts here. So the question is, does Sebastian want to start setting up? We'll see. It will have to be turn 2, though, it looks like, because Fake Out's coming out first. Terra Shell making that not a very effective move, but a fine thing to go into there, as Nasty Plot is now set up. VÍCTOR going right on the offensive here, too. But Sebastian goes for a Trick Room here, because that could definitely put Sebastian into a decent position. But either way...
Yeah, he opts for the other option and goes for the Thunder Wave, which is not only a great tool for speed control, but also has that slight chance to leave your opponent fully paralyzed and not attack at all. Terrapagos, thanks to the lefties, might heal up all the damage that Fake Out dealt and has another turn of Terra Shell active here. On the other side, now Calyrex boosted. Definitely taking out the Calyrex unless it's repositioning.
Oh yeah, 100% there. So can VÍCTOR crack through this paralysis right now? But yeah, Cresselia not wanting to deal with that at the moment. And as you said, may want to be preserving that Terra for the Terrapagos, which is often wanting to go for that Terra almost all the time. Making the most of that Terra Stellar, Terra Starstorm that it can really throw out.
Yeah, and there's the first common coming off. We also get confirmation that this Terrapagos is now faster than the paralyzed Calyrex here. Calyrex also gets to fully paralyzed. No Acid Rush coming off. We see a parting shot though, which will negate the special attack boost, but not the special defensive boost.
Yeah, I like this game that VÍCTOR's playing here. Bringing Incineroar means you can try and win the setup war between this Calyrex and the Terrapagos on the other end. So now Sebastian, yeah, left with just a +1 special defense Terrapagos, and as we can see, VÍCTOR's game plan is probably to use the Zamazenta on the physical side to deal with this Terrapagos rather than the Calyrex.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Terrapagos actually run the Electric Seed to boost your defense and then also have a better matchup into that Zamazenta. Here, that's not the case, so Zamazenta switching in kind of forces you to maybe not Terra yet, to use your Terra Shell ability and get not super effective damage by the body press. On the other side, we see that's exactly what's happening here. A double up with maybe Body Press M Psychic, despite the special defense boot, might put Terrapagos very low.
And there is the body press there into that Terra Shell, because it has just healed up thanks to the leftovers from that previous Fake Out. But yeah, being not very effective, not going to do a whole lot of damage here. And yeah, with a Combine coming off before this Calyrex can actually attack, it's definitely going to be able to take that Psychic that could potentially come out here, which there is a lot of other reason to go for.
Yeah, and one move that we could actually see from the Incineroar might be the Will-O-Wisp here that could negate future body presses. But thanks to the boost and the Life Orb, we actually see also a miss of the Will-O-Wisp.
Oh, that's a massive miss there. As you said, Barrett, that's probably the win condition against this Terrapagos, and maybe the rest of this team is this Zamazenta if this Terrapagos got too healthy at the moment. But yeah, having that Will-O-Wisp miss must have been really devastating for Sebastian.
Yeah, and you now kind of pin down your opponent because it won't survive another body press. Incineroar also on the field, also not really happy to take a body press. So you have 2 targets here. Neither of them really wants to protect here at the beginning as well. So, VÍCTOR MEDINA just too much offensive pressure.
At the moment, yes, unfortunately. But some Incineroars can survive this body press. So let's see if it can here. No, it can't. Dropping straight down at the moment there. Calyrex not even needing to move, and it's looking really rough for Sebastian. Just unable to get into the position where Terrapagos can actually start making the most of the boosts it's got.
Yeah, I mean, if you go for this full setup team here with Terrapagos, I don't see any. I mean, we might have to see if Amoonguss is maybe coming in to redirect those really important. Yeah, there's the Hutsasa in German. Your Amoonguss on the field now. Do we see it was Terra Water and not Terra Grass on Zamazenta, so it won't be able to play around that. But on the other hand, my question is, Terrapagos after parting shot and 2 Calm Minds, will it be strong enough to actually take out the Calyrex? Otherwise, we're going to see attack after attack and knockout after knockout.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be looking amazing at the moment, but yeah, at least with the Amoonguss, you can kind of offer Rage Powders at least into this turn, and you can maybe hope that Calyrex still continues to get fully paralyzed, which could always happen at any point from now on. But it's still in a really tricky spot because where is the damage coming from Sebastian's end?
Also keep in mind, if they decide to go for the Terra on the Terra Progress here, Terra Starstorm is now a field effect affecting both your opponent's Pokemon, so you have an easy white card in the next turn. On the other hand, we saw the common move of Flamethrower, which maybe at +1, I'm not quite sure, might be enough damage into Zamazenta. So let's see how this play turns out, and if maybe paralysis will come into effect.
All right, there's that Rage Powder. Mungus doing what it does best. Body press into it, though, squishing it down a little bit more than it already is, and with a little bit of a punish on with the Rocky helmet there too. There's that Flamethrower, getting the one-time Terra Stellar boost this time, but is it enough into this Zamazenta? No! Just hanging on again. Victor's Pokemon seem perfect here, and there's that Psychic follow-up, breaking through the paralysis, nailing this Amoonguss to the ground.
Yeah, now in a really tricky position because you got the Thunder Wave off, and I mean, one potential player I see around here is maybe now protecting Terrapagos and getting a attack off into that Zamazenta to take it out. But if they read into that and double into the Cresselia taking it out here, if it gets any attack out with the Astral Barrage, it will take out the Cresselia anyway at this point. So it's really difficult to position, that's what I meant earlier on, position your Terrapagos well into this restricted duo.
Yeah, exactly. I think, yeah, you've got to kind of maybe go for that Protect and then just try and get up like a Trick Room, for instance, or maybe another Thunder Wave, because, yeah, you know, Trapgos is faster than this Calyrex, so here's the Protect. Let's see how it plays out now.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the Body Press going into the Protect, so that's protected here, but the question is, will Calyrex be fully paralyzed or get an Astral Barrage off? There we see it's actually faster. The Cresselia is quite fast.
Wow.
Picks up the KO. Might go down now, but maybe then the Terrapagos has a chance against the remaining Pokemon. There's the Astral Barrage. At this point, with all the boosts and the Life Orb, will take out the Cresselia here and put Victor one step closer to taking this first game.
Yeah, even Cresselia is not taking this hit here. Yeah, unfortunately, Cresselia is now down. There's a little bit of extra health now on Terrapagos thanks to the leftovers. And again, Calyrex could still be fully paralyzed. So we're still in a little bit of an endgame, and the one Pokemon that could wide guard from the Terra Starstorms is gone. So Sebastian, I feel like, still has a little bit of an out here.
Yeah, the issue, though, on the other hand, Victor has two fake-out Pokemon here. We just saw Terrapagos protecting, so there's nothing against a fake-out here, and then an Astral Barrage, or sorry, a Psychic to pick up the KO potentially after all these boosts. And then afterwards, you have the Focus Sash on the Smeargle, so you can just protect and Spore. So it's really going to come down to if and when Calyrex attacks, because any further attack at this point will probably be the end of that Terrapagos.
As you said, Barish, there's that fake out, and that's going to make the Terrapagos flinch now, because we know it's already faster than this Calyrex. But from the Psychic, with that boosted special attack already, is enough for a KO on this Terrapagos, and Victor goes up one game in this 3-game set.
And this is what happens if you give Medina just one turn to set up. One turn very early on. He traded a nasty plot against a Thunder Wave. He got paralyzed once throughout the set.
Yeah.
But just that boost was enough to then basically pick up KO after KO after KO. The Will-O-Wisp miss was kind of crucial, but at that point Terrapagos was already so low in HP that it kind of needed to terrestrialize, and then maybe hope that with the extra HP gain through terrestrializing that it would be strong enough to take one more body press.
Yeah, and to be fair, the Psychic was still doing a lot of damage as well, even despite the body presses still coming out there too. So still, either way would have been quite tricky. But I think the question is, we've seen the Terrapagos, where's the Zacian? Do we think Zacian is going to come here? I feel like Behemoth Blade looks strong, Play Rough looks strong, it's just some big damage, and that's what Sebastian was lacking there. He just needed to try and set up with anything before he could actually do damage.
Yeah, first game, we see full-on support for that Terrapagos. We had the Incineroar, Cresselia, Mungus, they all lack offensive pressure themselves. They have some supportive moves like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, and the Spore, Rage Powder, but they don't do anything themselves. And if you don't manage to take care of the Zamazenta early enough to give an out, to give an opening for your Terrapagos to actually shine in that set, it's going to be really difficult to then withstand the offensive pressure. Like, Calyrex Shadow and Zamazenta are so popular for a reason. They have so much offensive pressure into any team, especially if they need extra turns to set up.
Yeah, and unfortunately that is the case, isn't it? I mean, Grimmsnarl, I think we could maybe see here too. It's a Dark type, but isn't weak to body press. And it starts out resisting both of Calyrex Shadow Rider's attacks. So I think I'd like to see that here, maybe with some screens and some taunt to potentially kind of turn this game around and add that additional box so Terrapagos doesn't take too much damage. Okay,
we see one Calyrex Shadow and 3 support Pokemon on the field. You just mentioned there's a Grimmsnarl paired up with an Incineroar, and on the other side, Smeargle. So now another case of giving your opponent potentially a chance to set up We see the double fake out pressure. You can also at any moment swap out, bring your own Incineroar in, lower the attack of both Incineroar and Grimmsnarl, which want to attack on the physical side. So, do you want to go for Protect or maybe already a Nasty Plot? But keep in mind that Incineroar might just go for a knockoff as well.
True. I mean, or do you want to switch out Calyrex at this point? Like, what is it going to do even if it does set up or make it into the next turn?
Yeah, you kind of are forced to give your opponent like one chance if you leave Smeargle on the field, and that's exactly what's happening. Incineroar coming in with a defensive swap here, with a Protect. You then have the combination of a Fake Out and a Nasty Plot in the next turn, but this also gives Grimmsnarl all the chance to set up maybe a Light Screen, a Reflect, and get all the defensive tools into place.
Okay, a very positional turn here, you could say, with the Protect on there, and the Taunt actually now going into what was that Smeargle. Yeah, a very safe target there to really shut down that annoying Pokemon. And the Parting Shot into the Calyrex here. So actually, yeah, VÍCTOR does position himself very nicely here, losing nothing really, and now having Fake Out pressure.
Yeah, Fake Out pressure. Beautiful swap into that Incineroar, being immune to the Taunt, still having the option to go for a Fake Out now, and then a Parting Shot afterwards, having lowered the attack of both opposing Pokemon, and now maybe gives an opening. Spirit Break, yes, lowers the attack, special attack by 1 stage, but you lose the, I guess, the race against the Nasty Plot.
Yeah, that would be the problem at the moment there, but at least you're getting damage out at the same time if you're that Grimmsnarl. So either way, I think Grimmsnarl's still in a decent position to kind of do what it wants, start getting those screens up, and then kind of maybe a slow Parting Shot to get in your Terapagos.
Yeah, on the other hand, our Calyrex might also just opt not to go for setup because of the pressure off the Taunt. They could have Terra Dark there to be immune to it, but it just says, hey, you know what? I'll just start dishing out damage.
Okay, and damage is the name of this game, and especially Calyrex Shadow Rider's name. And with Life Orb, yeah, that in front of 2 resisted hits, that is still doing a lot of damage. Like, that is significant, right? It's in range of so many other things now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really great way to mitigate the damage output of Calyrex because you have 2 Dark-type Pokemon, both immune to Psychic, both resist Astral Barrage. You have Taunt and Parting Shot to make sure they can set up and you can reposition at any moment as well, which essentially forced VÍCTOR to swap it out.
So yeah, here comes that Zamazenta coming in now, as you don't want to be taking either Spirit Break or Knockoff in this position. And this is a much safer slot. Unlikely to be taking a Will-O-Wisp as well in this position at least. But first, the Reflect from Sebastian's end. And that's going to be up for another 8 turns. And there's the Will-O-Wisp Predict actually from Sebastian as Zamazenta comes straight in and it connects. What an amazing call here. And VÍCTOR's going to follow up now with that Incineroar on that Parting Shot. But yeah, like a very, very good prediction there.
That was beautiful. Not only the Reflect despite Calyrex being on the field, but doubling down and saying, you know what, eventually you will have to bring out your physical attacker. So how do you feel about Reflect and Will-O-Wisp targeting into the right slot, basically predicting the Calyrex to swap out there? Beautifully played. You might think, hey, these are just 2 defensive Pokemon, but if you position them well and if you just call the right swaps there, it can bring you so much further into this game.
Oh, 100%, yeah. It's giving me Sword and Shield vibes here. Incineroar Grimmsnarl, a classic lead in that sort of format there. You set your screens, Parting Shot into what you want to Dynamax and go. But we're here in Scarlet and Violet. We've got Terra online for this weekend, but not for long after that. So let's make the most of it here. Why not? So Calyrex in now. Astral Barrage, we know how much damage that does here, but with a Zamazenta follow-up, could that do more?
Yeah, could that do more? For sure. We will see Light Screen pick up as well. There was a Protect on the Calyrex. Not setting up, not dealing out any damage, and there's a Body Press. We said that it can live at full HP, and we see that the burn, basically half in the damage, will basically make sure that Incineroar stayed on the field. Through that Reflect on top of that, it was not able to pick up the KO. And both these defensive Pokemon, keep in mind, Sebastian led with Incineroar and Grimmsnarl. That's all he did so far. VÍCTOR, on the other hand, had to swap through his entire cast of team there and got basically neutered so far.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not a lot of mileage made, but if Incineroar does go down this turn, that could really kind of free up VÍCTOR a lot with the rest of his Pokemon.
Yeah, we've seen Astral Barrage come out here, and after the Light Screen might not be enough to pick the KO on the Incineroar. Stays on the field. Just one more turn, maybe can get a crucial Parting Shot here. But there's a double up here.
Okay, yeah, so just making sure that Incineroar does go down, I think that makes a lot of sense from VÍCTOR's perspective, because the worst that this Grimmsnarl can do is maybe Spirit Break into that Calyrex, which is going to do all right damage and good utility in that special attack drop, but at the end of the day, you're still in the green, and you've gotten rid of a really defensive piece from Sebastian's side.
Yeah, on the other hand, Incineroar runs the Citrus Berry. Really interesting item choice. We have seen a lot of Rocky Helmet and maybe Assault Vest here. Unfortunately, against the Calyrex, you cannot activate any of your berries, so that didn't come into effect here. Otherwise, it would have been really nice to survive the Astro Barrage, heal up even further, or have it held up like earlier because it was already in the yellow. Not coming into effect here, but now I feel like Sebastian found an opening where Calyrex lowered special attack, Zamazenta burned, and you bring in your Terrapagos, start setting up and getting away with this game.
Yeah, it's looking likely, isn't it? I think Victor's going to maybe need to position around a little bit more, try and get in that Smeargle as Brimstone maybe goes down so you don't have that taunt pressure anymore. But speaking of taunt, it's coming out right now to deny that setup battle that both of these restricteds always want to go for. Victor calling that too, knowing this Grimstone needs to go down at some point. But is it going to be enough behind all that light speed and boots? No, not even close. Looking like it's going to need 2 more on top of that. But Zamazenta with that heavy slam should be enough. Yes, okay, it is gone down here. But is it enough to stop Sebastian's setup now?
Yeah, it's really interesting to opt and wait one more turn to Terrestrialize here, because you kind of want to keep your Terra Shell and maybe take damage, like, and a body press would deal even less damage here. Set up slowly here, but keep in mind, Sebastian now down 2 Pokemon, while Victor still has all his Pokemon left. Kind of interested to see if we'll end up seeing the Calyrex going down to its own life orb damage. And Sebastian saying, I will just take care of all the other Pokemon, because at this stage, the Calyrex is no threat to my Terrapagos.
Yeah, it's a great point, actually. Like, that's one way of dealing with Calyrex, right? If you just kind of let it deal enough damage and you just heal up enough anyway. So we've got to look at this Amoonguss as well. It's got that Spore, Rage Powder, Protect, and Pollen Puff here. So that's another way to heal up this Terrapagos. It's just with Pollen Puff at the same time. So even once you've put anything to sleep, this Amoonguss is still going to be very useful. Yeah,
I think the screen's really coming into effect here, and the Spirit Break, even though it didn't deal too much damage, it will make sure that a Psychic won't be as devastating into the Hootsasa, into the Amoonguss here. We might see that it still has to come into effect, and there finally is the Terrorization on Sebastian's side. So one more interesting aspect compared to Game 1, this Calyrex is no longer paralyzed in this set, so it will keep its speed advantage against the Terrapagos.
It's a good point, but it doesn't have a lot of special attack behind it, unfortunately, either. And so, yeah, Amoonguss is going to keep itself safe from that Psychic, and Terrapagos is just naturally great bulk and special defense, should be able to shrug off anything the Calyrex wants to do into that slot instead. So the question is, can this Terrapagos deal with this Calyrex to free up the Amoonguss now? First, that body press, behind Reflect, the burn, really not doing a whole lot of damage at the moment now. And yeah, Terra Starstorm, here it is from that Turtle that did so well last week, into both of these targets, and Calyrex goes down.
Calyrex down, and therefore one more tool into that Amoonguss off the field here, which frees it up to maybe go for a Pollen Puff in the next turn. Beautifully positioned from Sebastian here. In the end game, really well with the Amoonguss now, and the Terrapagos took the body press like a champ. It did like, what, 30%, even though it doesn't have the defensive boost, but just with Reflect and the burn, beautiful, like predicted the swap earlier. We see Incineroar actually has the safety goggles, so we'll be immune to Spore, it will ignore the Rage Powder, but it also knock off, I mean, it will get rid of the lefties, which can be important in the long term of this game on the Terrapagos. On the other side, Flare Blitz won't deal too much damage either.
Yeah, true. This is probably the best tool you could bring into this duo right now for Victor, especially with that item choice that it's got at the moment. But the Zamazenta is also on a timer, like that Calyrex. It's got that burn chip too, so the longer you spend trying to slow things down, fake out, the Zamazenta is getting lower and lower, and just needs one more Terra Starstorm for that to go down too. But I think you're right. How does the Incineroar actually get dealt with on Sebastian's end if the damage from the Incineroar comes out instead?
Yeah, that's one big question. We see a potential Terra, Water, and Wild Guard here, which basically blocks out Terra Starstorm. And then your Terrapagos is down to only Flamethrower, which is resisted both by Incineroar and by your Terra, Water, Zamazenta. But Zamazenta is kind of on a timer with that burn damage, so maybe the combination of Flamethrowers and burn eventually will take it out. We'll see if the Rocky Helmet will also play a big role. Keep in mind, Smeargle is in the back, but it doesn't have any attacking move.
Yeah, great point there, exactly. So this Incineroar seems to be the main way to do that damage. And yes, a good call from Victor there. Wide Guard blocking that super oppressive Terra Starstorm there instead. But we've yet to see either this Incineroar or the Amoonguss still go for that move. So knock off first into the Amoonguss now, getting rid of that Rocky Helmet, making it a lot safer if it was to Rage Powder away any further attacks from both Zamazenta and Incineroar. And the Pollen Buff instead, no Spore into that Terrapagos, putting it right back up to full.
Yep, no Spore coming out here against the burn and the safety goggles. Pokemon's on the field, of course. on the other hand, heal Terrapagos all the way up. So now it comes down to how do you take care of that Incineroar? I think getting rid of the Rocky Helmet was really important here, because now if a Body Press, as you mentioned, is redirected, if a Flare Blitz is coming out, you only take the recoil from Flare Blitz, but not on top of that from the Rocky Helmet. So maybe it is time to protect your Amoonguss and start dealing out more damage with the Terrapagos. And it's also going to be constantly a mind game between, is my opponent white guarding or not?
Yeah, really true. Otherwise, you're not getting a whole lot off at the moment. So VÍCTOR choosing to go for the second wide guard in a row here. Let's see if Sebastian has fallen for it a second time. No, it is the flamethrower here. Not going to do a lot, though, as you said, Barish. There's 2 resisted hits, but this could be enough, though, to put it in burn KO range to stop this Zamazenta blocking what this Terrapagos loves to do.
And buying just enough turns for Amoonguss to stick on the field with another Protect. 2 HP survival from the Zamazenta. We might see another Protect here, but eventually all that Terrapagos needs to do is maybe Protect here and then take care afterwards with Terra Starstorms. It's going to be tricky, yes. We said Smeagol doesn't have any attacking moves, but it does have the Follow Me for potential flamethrowers. It also has the Fake Out and White Guard, I believe, and Spore. So it might come down to sporing Terrapagos, knocking off the leftovers, and then slowly whittling it down.
So there's the third wide guard here, the last bark of the Zamazenta in this game, as we know it's going to go down to burn next turn. And so actually the second Calm Mind here, not a bad call there, as you know Zamazenta's going down either way, and you're probably not KOing Incineroar either. It makes you a little bit more bulky too. But there's that Flare Blitz, but not enough into Hutsasa there. Instead, taking some recoil, and Amoonguss is now free to do another Pollen Puff, it looks like, but going on the damage end instead into Incineroar. And now Zamazenta doing all that it could, now leaving it all up to Incineroar and Smeagol to try and close this out.
Yeah, it was a crucial call to say, wait, you might go for another white guard. I actually don't need to attack here because Zamazenta's going down anyway. Let me use that turn to get up another Calm Mind to then have those even stronger flamethrowers into that Incineroar, while Smeagol has the option to go for white guards into this game. So maybe this is another turn where you protect both Pokemon through the Fake Out pressure, and I don't think Smeagol has any way to punish the double Protect.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Yeah, there's no kind of Encore or Taunt or anything on the Smeagol, or any setup or Decorate, for instance, that we often see. So yeah, Protect from Amoonguss, but doesn't look like a Protect from the Terrapagos, yeah, that just takes the Fake Out instead. Okay, and so that's going to flinch, but yeah, does not make a huge difference unless, yeah, okay. If, I'm going to say, if the Incineroar went into the Terrapagos there, that would have been very good for VÍCTOR, but yeah, not quite this turn.
You kind of wanted to protect your Amoonguss against that Fake Out pressure, because now Smeagol typically trained faster than the Incineroar, doesn't have really any out, it can go for Spore, we see a defensive boost and the attack foul, neither of those will really matter against that Terrapagos. So Amoonguss now has the option to Rage Powder away any Spore plays, and then gives Terrapagos another opening for another extra attack here. Flare Blitz needs to take care of the Amoonguss here. Extra recoil, even though it is just a little bit there. And then now at +2, the Flamethrowers will really hurt.
Okay, Zamazenta's down, but it's still living on through this Smeagol. Wide guarding yet again to keep everything safe. But again, Sebastian not falling for it. Flamethrower now into that Incineroar, doing over half of what it had left. Really nice play there. As Flare Blitz now going out into the Amoonguss, does get rid of it here. But you are staring down a turtle with a lot of boosts.
Yeah, one thing we haven't really discussed yet. This game is going on for quite a while. We have the Spore pressure on Victor Medina's end here with that Smeagol. It doesn't get a speed drop, so it should still be faster potentially than the Terrapagos. Putting it asleep and just making sure you run the clock against your opponent here. We see a Protect also actually plays into your cards because it just uses up even more time this round here. And if VÍCTOR somehow manages to put the Terrapagos asleep and use enough time to finish the 20 minutes and be 2 versus 1 Pokemon up, that might be the winning condition that he might have to go for here.
That's a really good point, actually, Barish, as well. And Smeagol kind of boosting up here nicely. He's going to make sure that it can take maybe multiple flamethrowers if it's able to kind of cool that once Terrapagos has woken up from a potential Spore, right? But I think we've also not seen the speed interactions yet between Terrapagos and Smeagol, I don't think yet. So, but it is Smeagol that is the fastest.
There's a confirmation. Right. Protect was actually quite interesting because assuming the Smeagol is faster, if you just give them one more moody chance to lower their speed, you would have then been faster the next turn, which could have been crucial. And now it will come down to this knockoff. Decent damage. There's no leftovers left at this point, but keep in mind the only damaging moves we have is Knockoff and Flare Blitz. Knockoff will do even less damage now that the item is off, and Flare Blitz would actually take recoil and eventually take out the Incineroar. So you're kind of forced to go between follow me and white guard and then use knockoff until that Terrapaga is going down.
Yeah, this is really interesting actually, because yeah, as every turn Sebastian has to call whether he goes for Terra Starstorm or Flamethrower. So it looks like as a second turn of sleep now on Terrapagos, it could still be asleep for another turn. But I think that's the third time we've seen a special defense boost now on Smeargle. So it's very much likely to be able to take multiple Flamethrowers. So follow me looking very safe if Flamethrower is locked into, and therefore Sebastian might want to go for Terra Starstorm instead, and that means Victor probably wants to go for Wide God over Follow Me. So there's so much going on here.
So many mind games, and keep in mind, if you win the right mind game while Terrapaga is waking up, you then just have the option to go for another Spore afterwards. But on the other hand, we talked about the total match time. Keep in mind, Victor is down to 1 minute of your timer, so you can't take too much time to figure out the play in this endgame.
Wake up!
And a Flamethrower as well. This might take out the Incineroar. It is actually into the Smeargle though.
Wow.
This game is still going on for a few extra turns here. Smeargle takes their like a champ after all those boosts. Flabber's coming out, not enough. Is the recall enough to take out? No! Incineroar survives on 2 HP. So maybe a Follow Me and Flabbits will be enough to close out this game.
It just might be as well there, right? But like, if you Follow Me and it just goes for Terra Starstorm, that's like clears the board as well, right?
But wait. There's a speed drop.
Yeah.
The speed drop is
still
really crucial
no speed boost yet either. So yes, Smeargle needs to still call it this turn. Do you Wide Guard or Follow Me?
It all comes down to this turn. There's a Follow Me. There's a shaking head from Sebastian. He might not be happy about this. We see Flamethrower come out. Confirmation here. And if this Flablets is enough to take out the Terrapagos, then the set will go to Victor Medina. So will it be enough?
There's Smeargle going down at the moment now, doing what it did best. Why God or Follow Me. Flare Bits now, Incineroar into the Terrapagos. Yes, it's enough! Victor Medina takes this game somehow with a Smeargle Incineroar endgame. What a play! Victor Medina, your winner of round 5.
Congratulations, what a set. Seeing through this endgame, knowing that, well, I have to go for knockoff initially anyway, that was clear.